Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Graham Nolte, Creative Director of Comedy Theory. How are you doing, Graham?
I'm doing all right. We're trying to stay sane over here.
Definitely. So let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey, what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today inside Comedy Theory.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, any journey should be long or it wouldn't be worth it. For myself, I have never had a traditional 9 to 5 job. I've never been W-2'd. That wasn't because I planned that. That was because that was what I did and how it made sense to me. I think it's exciting to be able to create anything, most specifically in business, because it's all about people. It's all about creating value, and really trying to find a way to do that was always really interesting to me. So Comedy Theory is an agency. We focus a lot on video ads, and also the strategy behind them. So Comedy Theory really evolved, you could say, out of a production company, because that's where we're heavily focused. But it was one of the things where we were working on ads for people that we ended up pitching ideas for that they liked better than what the agency created. And we were doing all of the work except for the optimization. So, being able to help businesses and marketing departments really take it the last step and optimize it and follow it and, go through all the analytics, that was something that I think we were missing out on. We would create the products for everyone and everyone would be very excited. And then it was like, see ya, the agency is going to take care of it. So I think the natural evolution to where we are today as an agency was wanting to be able to, from the very beginning, when a client says we have an idea or we have a script or we have a campaign or we have a product launch, and we are able to go with them and create it from the very beginning to final implementation, where we're bringing them numbers and saying, this is what we're seeing in a really positive light. So I would say that that is like my personal involvement as to like how I got to be an agency owner. And I work in the creative department and the operations. So I work with strategists, and, I don't have, although I have my hands, in all the pieces of the pie, there are things that people are much better at than myself. So mostly I'm on the creative end, which I find really exciting. And Comedy Theory, it should be no surprise, is comedic based. Laughter, humor, entertainment. It's really just creating a conversation with your audience. Because if the audience sees your ad and thinks, I fucking hate you, stop airing that. Maybe it's not a good idea, and then someone else would say, well, they'll remember us, and, any press is good press. And that's a really cheap and lazy way to do it. And you can do it that way. You also can do it the same way without them hating you by making it enjoyable. So that's kind of why Comedy Theory exists and why I have such a passion for doing that, because I just felt like I feel like there's a gap in the market between a marketing department having an idea and then resulting in a final product. And then, you're giving that gift and taking that gift of attention from the viewers and just, pissing them off. I mean, if you work in marketing and you see all the commercials, I hate subreddits, or, you watch advertising with any person, I think all of them say, how the fuck did that get made? And I think that's what motivates me to be a part of a team and enable them to make their really awesome ideas not suck.
No, definitely. I feel like what you said then, when you said, you were kind of doing a lot of the work before and then handing it off without doing the analytics. It's like that last part is like so much leverage for your business as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it shows that you're then doing end to end, and because otherwise you lose a little bit of leverage being just sort of the creative side of it, but handling it all end to end, I feel like gives you not only leverage, but position as well. Do you know what I mean? And authority to the client.
And help too, because, a lot of times be able to work in omni-channel, being able to orchestrate massive campaigns across many different platforms, there's so much fun in that, as to how you can take creative and make that multi-use and speak to different audiences with different, sign-offs or cuts or whatever. I mean, that's really the exciting part, is there is value in that. And I think a lot of, what drives a lot of large companies and brands, why they use the holding companies. I can go into a whole conversation based on that. But if there's a few agencies owned by hedge funds that brands feel safe, working with, why is that? And I think it's because they're taking care of them end to end, and being able to help them with that is enormously valuable. And also, it's very powerful because then you, as an agency owner, if I'm talking for myself, with the team, the marketing team who you're servicing, who has fantastic ideas already, you guys can go together and really do something super powerful, as you were saying, with that. So it wouldn't just be leverage to work with us. It would be something that we are wielding with you as a marketing team, department, company, brand. And I mean, there's so much value in that. And that's exciting to be able to work with people in that capacity. It's really, enthralling.
Yeah, no, I think from business owners, like they pay in sort of like one firm, it makes them feel safe as well because it's less decisions that they have to make. And obviously, whether people are going to be scared whether I'm making the right call, if you've got to make three of them, the odds are sort of stacked against you as opposed to just making one call with somebody. And I feel like people overlook this how how more like how better it is for them to feel like not confused, just simple, straight down the line. Because when it's like they're having to do this with multiple different people, it starts becoming taking up more headspace, and they've got to pay different people and different things. And I feel like just that simplistic route often works best for them.
And I think that's why you yourself, as an agency owner, know what the value is for yourself and the services you provide. It's actually giving that guidance in a way that another solution is they have a team of their own people that they've built for that specific purpose, and they're paying
Hmm.
those salaries, and those salaries better be pretty high to keep that talent there, or they work with an agency. And so, yeah, I mean, there's there's a tremendous value in being able to understand how to orchestrate a really big picture within advertising, and then to say something, which is where my part of the creative side comes in, that really people that resonates with people. Otherwise, if
Hmm.
you can't do both sides of that massive, complicated equation, it can be super detrimental and wasteful, enormously wasteful. And we see that all the time out there, which is really, it's sad and a waste.
Also, when you're like running the whole thing, it's kind of like there's no disconnect. Do you know, like I
Yes.
think like from the creative part of it, but also like how you're going to optimize and leverage that in the field. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like sometimes there can be a disconnect where you're like, I made this ad for this purpose, but the way you're sort of like positioning it is not going to hit the same way as I imagined it.
Yeah, and that is a massive value that we can serve as agency owners, where we're able to be involved, that the holding companies don't necessarily have that advantage because they talk to the head person in the creative department, and then they're not the ones working on it, and it's so disjointed and it's bureaucracy, right? That's the word that
Mm-hmm.
comes to it. And a lot of people disagree that creativity works best in a bureaucracy, and it doesn't have to be a dictatorship, but it should be a lot of egoless people who are exceptional at what they do because it's so complicated. And that's why some of these ads being made out there, running on TV, running on CTV, running on your Instagram, are fucking terrible. It wasn't
Yeah.
intended that way, but it's like the gap between the people. So if you don't have full control over that at your marketing department, that's when you can partner with an agency to enable that to not happen. So yes,
Mm.
I couldn't agree more with you.
So, Graham, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market today?
I have, and this might just be, I've been told that I don't always answer the question directly. And I think I'm sidestepping it, and I'll be upfront and honest about saying that is I don't personally ever try to look at trends
Hmm.
because I think that fundamentally human beings operate the same, whether we are aware of it or not. People 300 years ago were the same level of intelligence, different tools around them to get confused by, right? So, like, people are brilliant, and I don't think that finding what everyone's talking about is where I personally like to focus. Now, there is things that people will say, hey, we have a timely idea, and I like to collaborate and make that idea work on a universal human level. But when it comes to myself focusing on trends, I think that that's probably the way you feel old. You focus
Hmm.
like 15, 20 years and you're like, well, back in my day, and then the Vines used to do, and that's great, but then how much energy can you put into something? And it might just be, Stefan, the way people think. There's a lot of people some of my friends, they watch baseball and they're like 1982, Jack Johnson hit a home run in the third round, right? Like maybe he did. I don't know. You could look it up if you need to. I don't know why I would store that, but they're
Hmm.
brilliant at storing information. And I think for me, I'm not necessarily ever staring at what other people are doing to look for guidance. I feel like I'm trying to bring truth through the purpose that I have in life. And the purpose that I have is to try to make people laugh with something that I've
Hmm.
created, which I enjoy. It gets me up in the morning. And
Hmm.
so, um, I guess the answer would be AI. To bring it full circle,
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I feel like,
which
and
is
how do you,
exciting.
yeah, how do you see an AI change like how you not run your business, but how you know, do the creatives, and is it speeding things up in your market, or are you seeing other people use it not so good as you want to use it, things like that?
Yes, all of the above. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It is, where it is now. I was on a production, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago now. And I looked around at a lot of coworkers, some of them friends for a long time. We've been making, video productions, ads for 15 years together. And there was a soft moment where I said, man, I'm really going to miss this. And everyone said, what do you
Mm,
mean? And I said, I'm going to miss standing, at this hotel that we rented for this very specific shoot. And then you flew in from California and you ordered these props from over here. And we have this antique thing that we got because it's in the script that the guy wrote in England, right? Like all these components.
mm,
I'm going to miss standing here in this kitchen to do this because we're not going to need that in the future. And this is before VO came out, before Sora came out. And we were just generating the images and everyone was like, we're not going to do that. Like this isn't going to go away. Maybe 20 years. And I was like, that's just not how technology trends, right? 6 months later, when Sora was released, everyone called me and they're like, you said this was going to happen. And I'm kind of freaking out. Now I'm freaking out too because it's freaky, but also it's progress. It's so
mhm,
fucking exciting. When digital video became more prominent, I'm sure that was scary. When the talkies,
mm,
weren't the main way to that we did it. It's scary. And I'm seeing a vast difference. And it is only the beginning and it is not going to stop and it is only going to speed up. And of course, it's going to disrupt it. It's going to implode industries and already has. And that's exciting because, to still be the same people with your level of intelligence and charisma and whatever it is that your skill is in life that you're able to work with other people to make really cool things, you still can do that. You will
mm,
have to learn some new things and you will have to reapply your passion to other things. And that is scary. And I had an existential moment myself where I was like, I've been standing there next to a camera, behind a camera, guiding a camera my whole life. This was like my life. Like, I feel like my life was taken. And yet now, immediately, we're already, using all the tools, every single one of them. It's awesome. It makes things, I was going through one of the budgets that we had, and there's all these expenses for all of these things, like feeding so many people on a crew and all the hotels for people and just so many flights. The flight got messed up. We had to pay for, like just things like that. And then you have the spreadsheet for the AI ad and it just doesn't exist. And it's scary, sad, and yet super exciting because then you can still work with a lot of those same people who can work from home, who might have kids and might want to be around them. And they don't have to be in a plane missing their kid's game or, it's going to enable so much awesome life positive things for people. And it will implode many industries. And
mm.
that's what I'm seeing. And it's exciting, I think.
Yeah, no, I think the same as you, and I also think that people who are specialists in certain fields is going to be used best by you because you know the field. You are a specialist in the field. Not any Tom, Dick, or Harry can have your expertise to help use the AI in a different way. Because another guest said to me, just because you own a cricket bat doesn't mean you should play cricket for Australia, or just because you have the tool, different people are going to be able to use this tool so much better. So if you're a specialist in said area, whatever area that may be, then you're going to be able to use this tool to further advance what you're doing. And as opposed to just any sort of person using it, they're two completely different things. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, and also with the human connection, it's so true. It's like a reversal almost. It's like we're going to lose it in some aspects, but we're also going to gain it back in other aspects. So it's definitely change is uncomfortable for us as humans. I feel like, and it's uncomfortable. I have an AI business, and it's even uncomfortable for me sometimes, not in a bad way, but just in like it's changed. You know what I mean? You have to learn new things. You have to, but I feel like, and people are going to have to learn new skills 100% if you've never used AI before, and you need to think about how this is going to work in your industry, but you are the best person to learn it in your said industry if you are a specialist.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that so I pay $200 a month for Perplexity Max. It's the most advanced version of AI that I can get out there. I really enjoy it. It basically has enabled me to become an avid reader of the subject matter that I want the most without having to read advertisements through Google's search engine or Bing or whatever. And so it's amazing. But at the end of it all, if you have an idea that hasn't been written on a website or in a database or in some code somewhere, you can't find it on there. And
Mm,
you realize that there's walls to this because the knowledge that is in this pool of training data is things that other people wrote. And I'm not saying that other people don't have the ideas you have, but it might not be in the training data. It really, truly, actually might not be in there. And so there is so much value that people have. And I don't think that it can replace us in the next. I mean, once quantum computing says, I'm smarter than you, all right, fine, game over, whatever. We could talk about that. But for right now, but then wait a second. Oh, wait, we can be behind a quantum computer and our job can be to be the steward of the person
mm,
utilizing it for the purpose of the company, brand, whatever it is. So it's just super exciting. I mean, we are like at such a junction point in time. It's
mhm.
good to be alive.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the 80s when computers started taking off or when social media started taking off. Like it kind of feels like when people spoke about it then, it kind of feels like we're in another sort of shift like that. But I feel like it will probably be a bigger shift because we already have such advanced tools that I mean, is this going to be able to advance quicker? Going from no computer to be able to type up a Word document, that's one thing. But going from where we are now to where it's going to go, I feel like is can go take us much further and is much more expansive.
And you are at the cutting edge of that. It
Well,
must be.
yeah, no, I thought it's one of them things I feel like for me, I was like, I really want to be on the right side of history here. I
Yeah.
really just want to get ahead and kind of be in this space. I also feel like anxiety goes away the more you do. It's like the more you
Oh, yeah.
actually get involved and the more you know about it, the anxiety goes away. I feel like the less you know about it, the more anxious you become and the more you let your mind misuse its imagination and to be like, oh, well, I could do this, this, and this. But if you actually get in amongst the weeds, you can kind of have a bit more of a foothold in the subject and feel a little bit more at ease with it.
It's really hard to provide value because you have to understand the needs of another person, right? Or business, entity, group, like, and that's even more complex. So there, if AI could immediately do that, then everyone would be doing that. And then where would you create that edge? And so
Mhm.
there's just, it doesn't matter how fast it gets, there's always going to be something that will create more value for another person in whatever complex, system we are in. So yeah, it's super exciting.
So, Graham, what is working well and where do you still feel slight friction at Comedy Theory?
So within advertising and marketing, global economic factors are pretty big. There's a lot, has been like a downturn, tightening of the belts the last 3, 4 years. It has, I mean, there are production companies that have gone under, there are agencies that have gone under. That's an always thing, but it is at an ever increasing rate. There's consolidations of the holding companies joining together. Like eventually
Mm.
it's just going to be one agency, right? And so
Yeah.
like that's fucking massive. So yeah, it's interesting, having a lot of talk with marketing departments and business owners because I guess tightening of the belts is, just inevitable. And so it makes it a lot more exciting and challenging to find how to be valuable for other businesses because on their end, it is ever more challenging to make certain amount of dollars that are worth less go more.
Mm.
So, I mean, if anything, it just makes everybody really better at what they do. But that doesn't mean that it's not a hard sell convincing an entire team of people to make a comedic work. So I would say
Mm.
that is, uh, not everyone believes in the value of that, but not everyone also understands the value in connecting with audience members through what you're saying. And they think that there's a way to do it and there's a way that feels, I guess a lot of the friction that we see is some people that we don't even talk to, but are also decision makers with other people feel that comedy can be, I guess, because some people are in such bad taste,
Mm.
and they see those things and they say, there, we don't, it's a risk. We don't want to do that. And, you pick the wrong team, you work with too many layers of bureaucracy. That's possible, but that's not what we're here for. And once we're able to actually have the right conversations with the right decision makers, one of my favorite things is delivering a product at exactly where I promised it would be, only better. And everyone loves it. And it's just really fun. And then they share it in their socials and they actually want to share it. And people personally share it. And so, for us, always getting over I would say, the belief that comedy can be risky when it's not. And it outperforms uncomedic or unfunny material hand over fist. So I think that that's because global economic downturn is tightening belts and then having conversations where people are afraid, it does
Mhm.
make the climate more challenging to have the right conversations where we let them know, that this works and it works exceptionally well. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's actually something to be excited by. And when you are excited by the ads that you make, generally, unless you're like really out of touch, generally audiences appreciate it when there's something that people say that speaks to them. Even if it doesn't directly speak to them, I think, if you're in your 60s and someone's in their 20s, I think you can recognize when this would speak to someone. And again, we're all just humans at the end of the day. So I think that that's the challenges that we're seeing on this end is a lot. We're just seeing a lot of concern, I think, and it's exciting to really be able to help people in those times. Because I would say, 5 years ago, it was just gangbusters. People are just throwing money in marketing departments because there was an excess, and this is industry dependent, right? Like I'm saying a lot of stereotyping things because not every industry is the same. But I think that post pandemic, there was definitely this like uptick
Mhm.
of people, happy to be back in but it's all ebbs and flows. So I can't complain about like a period in time where people are being more strategic. I think that's awesome, and it's fun to be having these conversations with people because it makes everybody better at what they do, and it makes better products in the end.
No, definitely. I could see like how with the downturn and also business can be quite a serious place.
Right.
And where you're trying to pitch like a comedic thing, I can see how they would like automatically sort of be like this, like I'd be like, no, no, this is too not serious. Do you know what I mean? But without understanding like human emotion and how we connect and things like that, like it's still serious, but not in the way that you lot are thinking about it. It's still going to drive results, which is serious, but in a different way. What I mean? You're going to actually connect with the human. And you always remember an ad that makes you laugh. You always remember an ad that makes you laugh. Do you know what I mean? More so probably than an ad that you hate more. You know what I mean? I feel like when like a song gets stuck in your head, it's there. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes you, feel something type of thing. So I could definitely understand like how you would have to sort of not sell it, but actually convince these people that what their logic of what they're saying is not actually what the reality is.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. We're hearing concern. And honestly, a lot of time, the conversations we have are going exceptionally well. People come to us because they had an idea that they might want to do that's comedic, but then they leave to go back and then they're like, well, actually, we talked to X at our company and, they put the kibosh on it because they said it's dangerous or something. So and that's not, all the time, but that's something that I'm seeing that in the past was not as challenging as a conversation. Um, and, for the brave that go through that, they love the results. They're seeing the results in the numbers. So it's just something that because you ask, what am I seeing? And I feel like
Hmm.
it makes sense to be concerned, but it's almost like you and I talking about, AI and how that changes it. Like, yes, we should genuinely be
Hmm.
concerned. However, and also, but now's when you act and here's how you should. And it's, running with the current, swimming with the current. And instead of just kind of like sitting there in a little flotation device, hoping you're going to get to the destination, and that's fear. It freezes people. And so I don't blame them on a human level. But yeah, you do have to make sure that you are talking to the right people and having the right conversations because a lot of times people's concerns can be answered with a solution they may not have understood exists. And
Yeah.
so it's really helpful to be able to talk to teams, which is, we love doing.
And also, sometimes I speak to clients, I'm sure you're the same. They might have like a bad experience with something or the way they did something. So that's them like, nah, that's locked off. That's rubbish. That can't be done. But it's actually that you've potentially just done it in a wrong way or you've had a bad experience, but it wasn't optimized in the right way and things like that. So like, in your aspect, they could be like, well, I put a funny post up once and it got me no likes. So I don't think comedian works like, do you know what I mean? Whereas it's actually coming from, it's how, it's not just what, it's how, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I put all of that. That is, I said that's what gets me up in the morning. It really makes
Mm.
me, I put all of my energy into delivering what I promise we will from the beginning, which is results. And I believe those results come from being able to make a product that people connect with. And so it's almost one of those things that people know once you've done it, which is really nice. So when you get to make the product for of the companies and individuals, then they see that. And then, I've worked with people where they said, I've been trying to explain this idea to someone, for a few years and you made it and they get it now, which is
Mhm.
awesome because
Yeah.
you're like, yes, that's what we do. We help you and teams, create the ideas that they have, which always were blown away by the marketing departments. It's not like, we got to come in here and fix up your shit. It's always like, whoa, you guys should make this. And they're like, well, we're going to let you do that. And we're like, well, then we should make this because that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, no, definitely. It sounds very rewarding as well, to know
Mm.
when you're actually been able to get across what they're trying to get across and not being able to in the right way, and you actually coming in and being like, I'm going to take it from this angle, and then their customers are getting as alignment. Do you know what I mean? And then you're actually creating that alignment.
It's wonderful to collaborate with exceptionally talented and smart people. It's awesome.
So, Graham, walk me through your client acquisition process. So, how do you gain more clients?
If I knew that answer, we would be working with the people every single moment of every day, and we would be, less of a boutique and more of a holding co. A lot of it's referrals. Honestly, a lot of people come to us, I guess, through channels, LinkedIn. Conversations are started. We have a few different, advertising methods that we do ourselves, but a lot of it has more just been honestly referrals, which is really
Hmm.
great. A lot of repeat clients, which is nice. But at the same time, it's the product that we're selling is campaigns and campaign management. And so a lot of times people have an agency already, right? So something has to go so terribly wrong, and yet they have to not want to feel burnt out, or they have to fight. There's kind of like a locking key between some of the dynamics for where we would be brought in. And I feel like the stat is, 95% of the time people aren't in your market. So finding those people who are listening to what I'm saying right now and go, that's it, that's what we're missing. I think,
Hmm.
even us were challenged by, because I mean, their campaigns are expensive. Running a CTV ad campaign is expensive. And a lot of times people work with who they worked with in the past, right? So it's like there's all these dynamics at play where I think we're still just playing around and just finding, where to have these right conversations. Honestly, I wish it was all the same answer, but every campaign that we have comes through like a different method. And I'm like, oh, that worked. Oh, that's great. Oh, hey, cool. And it's I think the problem that I would say for us is we have a really wide range of industries that we work in. And I think
Hmm.
a lot of people say the advice is, to just focus down, do one industry, just that's it. You're a milk ad agency, right? That's what you do. You're the spatula ad agency. And at this stage, we've just had so much fun learning about different industries through making ads for them that I guess it would be smarter to do that so we could grow to like this giant, holding co size. But I really just enjoy the creative aspect. And I like taking projects on project by project. And I don't like the idea at this stage in my career and of this business is to let go of a little bit of control in the terms of quality, right? I feel like to scale, it's not that
Hmm.
you can't bring people in, but I just don't want things to lack. And so it's been a lot of referrals. And then, we do our own marketing, and this podcast, for example, one time there's an article from like 3 years ago. Someone's like, I read that and I want to talk to your team. And it's like, that's awesome. Like I think marketing and advertising is such a complex equation. And for us, I haven't chosen to stick in a lane because I really enjoy working with different industries. And I think if I'm trying to be self-reflective in this moment, like what's working, I'm still finding that out. It's exciting. And also too, to be fair, like I'm mostly the creative. So I would need to take the team who works in strategy to really like double and triple down on that. But we're getting work and clients without doing that. So I don't want to grow too large to the point where I feel like I get on a call and I'm promising something and then I'm like, see ya suckers later, work with my juniors. So like,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
I
I hope
feel
that
like
answers.
a lot of agencies feel the same as you. To be fair, especially the ones I spoke to, like where they're like, I mean, one half of me wants to scale up, but the other half of me is worried about quality and that I'm providing the same service as I would as you scale. Both of the things can be true. Do you know what I mean? And also, I feel like the quality, like personal sort of communications that you have with them might change, of course, as you get exponentially bigger, like about keeping the quality the same as the service that you're providing. And I feel like that's a balance that a lot of people will try and get, do you know what I mean? But also are a little bit fearful of getting it wrong. I feel like with referrals, they're really good because obviously when a referral comes in, they're really warm. They're a warm lead. They already have seen you. So it's a lot less work from like a sales point of view, but also like, well, how How is it like month to month? Do you ever have like droughts from like just relying on referrals, or do you have like a steady flow that's always coming in?
Yeah, it just depends, honestly. It is all over the map, and has been for years, and it's really tied to it's it's wild to see that there is a pattern. That's why I was talking about global economic,
Hmm.
like where everything is. Or, time of the year, we see a lot like September through November is usually crazy. And
Mm.
then honestly, it's tied to the corporate quarters, right? So like, I know that, for clients that we work with and we service, they are, of a certain size that are running campaigns all the time for themselves because they have a product they're selling. We're more B2B sales. It's a lot different, especially if they're just selling a product. But most people in, B2B scenarios, I would assume, or maybe I'm just talking for ourselves, they're tied to corporate quarters basically through and through for years. And I remember when I started to see those patterns, I was like, why is it look at my look at my invoices from this month and then just look at year, like you can just say there's just a pattern. And if you want the real answer, it's tied to the amount of available sunlight on earth. Right? Like there's your
Hmm.
answer.
Yeah.
It's where we are in the universe around the sun for that year and what year, is the industry tied to that part of the parabola.
Mm.
That is literally what it is.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like, oh, we had an article, or we had a podcast, or we ran an ad campaign, or, we were more active on social or whatever it is. But I think those are more one-offs. And if I'm being
Yeah.
practical, I feel like so much of it's not out of your control. I mean, you can choose to scale in the ways that you want to scale. The way that I feel like I've been putting my emphasis into doing this company, I think the term was a lifestyle business. Like
Mm.
I really enjoy what the ads that we're making.
Hmm.
And so my focus is so heavily on that I make a living doing this. I have two kids, I have a home, like I have my friends and family around me, and I get to make really cool ads that there are ads that I made 4 years ago that someone texts me and they're like, dude, they're running your ad again. And it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
I tried so hard on that. I love that they're still using that. That's incredible. Like, yes. So I think being self-reflective, like there's definitely, as a business owner, another way I could run this to take on a lot more clients and scale, and even to do it in periods that, for example, January, I'm able to just jump on this call and this is great.
Mm.
This is a part of the things that I'm doing today instead of like, holy
Yeah.
shit, another 17-hour day after another 17-hour
Mm.
day after another 17-hour day. Jesus. Right. Like, so yeah, there's definitely, I guess it could be described as ups and downs, but to me, really, it's more of like a global year by year parabola and where you are within that parabola and the micro adjustments per the months. So yeah, it's fascinating to just review finances and to see it from like a macro perspective.
Similar positions to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like a trade off. Like scaling, yes, brings in more money, but then there is a trade off to other things in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like you just said then, do you know what I mean? Like if you was in January, yeah, it's a trade off. Do you know what I mean? You could have potentially more revenue coming in, but then it's a trade off of how many hours your team and you will be having to work. And then it's if you can use that time for things like this or other things that you enjoy, it's kind of the trade off that you have to make. So I completely hear you what you're saying.
Yeah, and I can say like this, I direct a lot of our ads, and sometimes there are ads that we have made with Comedy Theory that I haven't directed or written, and it was just my heart wasn't in it. Someone else really had a great idea. The client loved the idea. The client loved the final product, and it was the most profitable ad we did because I wasn't involved, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
I would go in there and be like, "Let's fucking do it, yeah!" And, like, as a business owner, you can make these choices because then sometimes when we make an ad, we get work from that. And so for
Hmm.
me, I feel like I'm doing our marketing through the work that we have, that we make, that we're capable of doing, that we love doing. And to me, that is my favorite way to find clients because they're like, we love what you're doing. Not we ran an ad campaign, we educated you. That we can do that too, and we have done that. But I just like put again creative base versus the strategist. I'm sure my strategist would tell you we're doing it slightly differently, but you just had me in the call, so that's how I would answer it personally.
So, Graham, I've only got two more questions, so I won't keep you much longer. First one is, where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
I really want to start working with a lot more tech companies. a lot of SaaS. I know that the industries are changing, but I just feel like there's no going back to the model that has been created and implemented. And I just think it's so fun. One of my favorite things about making ads are anthropomorphizing products or brands that are challenging to give human values to. And I
Hmm.
just feel like there's so much, not just opportunity, but fun that can be had, taking something that's so abstract, yet so complex and helpful. And I think software, there's so much of that. And so we just started, working more in that space, and it's been a lot of fun. And I just love, especially through the lens of humor, creating value for complex products that can be shown in a human light. It's just, I
Mm.
think that it is something that I'm adept at, distilling down complex things into simple things, and then telling it from a uh, entertaining stance. And so I guess I've just had fun working on it in the past, and I would like to see more of that come in. I think that would be fun.
I think that's definitely a gap in the market because it's something that can be quite, some people might find like not boring, but
Right.
serious and type of hard to understand sometimes. But having that bridge of having that comedic advertising to help you understand it and see it from how helpful that would be in your day-to-day life or your business life, I feel like is definitely a gap that like would be very good for you to bridge. I feel like definitely because when I see these types of things, I often like think as you just said that, then I thought that would actually make a lot more sense to me. Do you know what I mean? If I seen some like a SaaS company, but if there was some comedic value in it or advertising in it that makes you like kind of the light bulbs go off in your brain of like, oh, I could use that for this, or I could, this would make my life a lot easier because that's kind of what SaaS companies they're solving, making our lives easier through these tech and SaaS companies, so or ideas into putting these ideas into fruition.
And it's fascinating the products that they have. I mean, I use well, we at Comedy Theory, we have so many levels of layers of complex SaaS that it's just, within advertising ads that we run or just internally. And it's fun. I love the products.
Yeah.
So it's even more fun to understand, 15, 20 people in a room or in a virtual room in a meeting and all of their ideas, and to take that and go, okay, here's how we can compute that into something that people not only understand but love. And so, yeah, I think that's we've done a few recently that I really enjoyed, and so I'm just putting that out there that I hope that we get to work with a lot more software companies because it's just fun.
Definitely, especially when you enjoy using the product, you're also a consumer of products like this, so it makes it a lot easier to bridge that gap. Do you know what I mean? Because you're actually you already love the type of tools. Do you know what I mean? You're sold on that part. Because sometimes when there's a disconnect or you don't use their tools, so you don't see the value in the tools, whereas that's not the case with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that one of the products that I was saying another director who did an amazing job directed. I was like, I don't really know about the product. Like, I want to be involved in this, and Comedy Theory will absolutely knock this out of the park. But personally, if we're just talking about the role of directing and writing, like I just don't even know how to connect with it. And
Mm,
that's pretty rare, honestly, because I love what I do. But someone who I was talking to was feeling it so much harder, and I was like, "That's what we fucking need. You're in. Like, let's do it."
mm,
Yeah, it's software is something that I use so many of and have for my whole life. So
mm.
yeah, it's good stuff.
So, Graham, my last question is: if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
My life goal has always been to make a Super Bowl ad. It
Mm,
is when I do an ad campaign, I am intending it to be better than the Super Bowl ads, at least 80 to 90% of them, no matter how low the budget of the project we're working on. I just
mm,
always want to knock it out of the park. So if I could, if I could throw the magic wand out there, I would meet the next client that we can work to. We'll knock that project out of the park. And in 2, 3, 4 years, we will help them scale with the ads that we created to then make a Super Bowl commercial. I didn't want the Super Bowl commercial right away. I want it to be a lengthy, proven process where I personally have to get there by putting in the value. So that in 3, 4, 5 years, we can make that Super Bowl commercial and people will be like, holy shit, you remember that one from, and that's it. They only remember one
mm.
fucking ad because it was so much better than everyone else's. That would be my magic wand.
Yeah, no, that's a cool answer to the magic one question. I ask everybody that, and that's a cool one. That's like the holy grail for advertising, isn't it? To be on the Super Bowl ad. But also, I feel like it's very commendable that you're not wanting just to wave the magic wand and then just get right there. You want to go through the trenches. You want to go through, the windy roads to actually get the most value out of it and to take the company with you and them with you, and they take you with them type of thing. So it's cool.
Well, what more to personalize that experience, right? Like I get emotional
Mm,
thinking about it because it's you meet a business, you knock it out of the park. You were pretending like, and you thought it was a Super Bowl ad. And then 3, 4 years later, they're like, you helped us get here. Now's
mm.
the chance. And we go, let's fucking do it. And then you really do it. As opposed to just like, someone saw one of my ads, they really loved it. We got an opportunity. It's one of those things where like, star kids when they're famous without putting in the work. Like that doesn't I don't want that. I
Yeah,
want to get there when I'm like barely able to put the flag at the end of my life. Like we fucking did it. So
yeah.
yeah,
Definitely. It's like when they like said, well, the star kids, it's like that's like it's emptiness. They haven't done anything to actually get there. Do you know what I mean?
yes. Yes.
Mm,
So that would be the reason for, talking back through it with yourself about like why I would even say that because I want it to be so meaningful. I
mm.
can die happy.
Yeah, yeah, fulfilling, definitely. So, Graham, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for answering all my questions. I had a great conversation. I learned about more about your business and things like that. Where can my viewers and listeners reach out to you? Where can they communicate with you?
Yeah, comedytheory.tv is our website. That's probably the best way to go through it. I don't know if you put any links at the end of this. That would be really
Yeah.
helpful. It
Hmm.
pretty much just has, it has pricing on our website. Don't let that scare you. Just talk to us. I mean, there's many ways to collaborate. We have, low end to high end, omni channel, every channel. And the biggest thing that I just say is, it's definitely all about the strategy. It has nothing
Yeah,
to do with the comedy. That is the icing on the cake. That is the fun part we all get to be a part of. But there has to be brilliant strategy before we even start talking about that. So comedytheater.tv. That is the most helpful way to get in touch with us. Schedule a meeting. We would love to talk to teams, even if we're just talking and hanging out. That would be fun.
perfect. Well, I'll put the link in the description, guys, for you to hit him up. So if there's anything that you sparked your attention from this podcast, then please go over and hit Graham up and have a conversation and see where that can take you. And everybody, please like, comment, subscribe, send to a friend, spread it out as far and wide as you can. And Graham, thank you so much for coming on again, and all the best in the future.
Thanks so much to you as well. See you, everybody.